Hey all, welcome back. This is Seth, the Imperial Riff Lord, bringing you episode 3 of the history of the guitars. PV, EVH, Wolfgang, also known as Bill. I have had this guitar since March 5th, 2001. I bought it at Wagner's Music in Plymouth, Indiana. I have the receipt for it right here. And I put it on layaway February 6th that year and paid a total of $936.45 for it. And at the time, I couldn't believe I was buying a guitar that cost that much because I'd never had it until then. And I traded my first Ibanez, which was an RG450 on it with a nice case, for $150. I really wish I hadn't done that because I'd still love to have that guitar, since as anybody who watches me or knows about my guitar obsession, Ibanez is my crack. After DiMarzio. DiMarzio is my favorite musical product that's ever been made. But, so let me just get into the history of this thing. So my original guitar teacher, Scott Workman, had a Wolfgang Special, which is the same guitar. His was white and didn't have the body binding because this is the full-fledged Wolfgang. And I just got used to playing that. I would jam on his at his rehearsals with his band Excess Force, and then they'd get me up on stage, and I would either play his Wolfgang or his Ibanez USA Custom, which I did a on-screen history of the guitars episode 1 with him in December, and those were my first two forays into guitar playing and being a musician at all. And so I wanted a Wolfgang, or at least I was hoping to get one. And my mom went to high school with the owner of the shop, Bill, and she was on her way to Plymouth one time. So I just asked her to go in there and see if they had any used Wolfgangs, because at the time they were the hot commodity. Everybody wanted them. They're exceptionally well made. And I had a tax return coming, and Mom went in there and they had a used one, and it was black. I didn't want a white one. I've never owned a white guitar the whole time I've been playing. Light colors don't do me a whole lot of favors. The only white guitars I would want would be a Gem, the 7 VWH. And there are a couple others I've seen, but it's generally, I like darker colors: black, blue, purple, red, green. But so Mom went in there and they had one, and it was the full-fledged Wolfgang. And I went in and put $150 down. Well, I traded the Ibanez, and then just paid it off from February until March. And I can remember my best friend Brian's first son was born that same day, because as soon as I paid the guitar off, I went to his house and met his boy for the very first time. So it's an easy date to remember every year. But it is really hard to believe I have had this guitar for 20 years. And it is in still immaculate condition. It's a little more beat up than when I first got it. Of course, it'd have to be. The specs on it are, it's all stock, except for this, the D-Tuna, which is the piece that when you flip it out, an E now, if I pop it out, instantly in drop D tuning. Because when you have the lock nut, for those of you who don't play guitar, if you don't know, you have to unlock the nut with a wrench and then tune it to D and then relock it. With this, you just have to get it tuned up ahead of time and make sure it's the way it's supposed to be. It's a little temperamental, but once you get it in there, it's rock solid. And this is a basswood body, twin humbuckers, 3-way switch, bird's eye maple neck. A lot of bird's eyes in this one. The lighting is not very good in here. It's 8:30 at night, so I don't have too bright of lights in here. These are, the tuners say, made in Germany on them. They look like Schallers from the S symbol on the back. I couldn't tell you for sure. And then it has a PV licensed Floyd Rose on it. And this is the only guitar I've ever owned that has a flush mount Floyd on it. You can't pull up on the bar because it's bolted directly to the body, so you can only dive it. So, and the other, and it's just got a master volume and a master tone. And then the back of it, really simple, got a Death Riders sticker on it because my last day at GIT in Hollywood, March of 2011, was they came to the school and did a concert in the concert hall, and it was really cool. Their guitarist was an alumnus of the place, and so I needed a place to put the sticker, so I put it on the backing plate here. And the only thing that's odd about this, I say odd, but because it confuses everybody, I thought for a long time that Scott was using the neck pickup when I'd see him play his live, but it's literally just that Eddie likes it wired the opposite way, so up is the bridge pickup. On any other guitar like this, it's always, this is the bridge. But this is the neck pickup, this is the middle, and that's the bridge. So it's wired opposite. That's just the way Eddie liked it. And I don't get it, but I've learned to get used to it after playing this thing for as long as I have. And so some of the history of this guitar, I played this guitar at my very first professional gig, May 25th, 2002. I'm pretty sure that was the date, at JD's Roadhouse in Warsaw, Indiana. It's the Sandbar or someplace like that. It was O'Connor's when I was jamming with Scott and his band. We actually opened up for his band. And I have photographic evidence. It was my very first professional gig. We didn't get paid. We didn't get paid for another gig or two that we did. We did a wedding reception and a VFW for that. But I got loaded, drunk, and passed out hardcore. It was a fun night, needless to say. The bartender was giving me free shots of liquid cocaine and Bud Ice long before I was ever a craft beer snob, hence the name Imperial Riff Lord. And this one I actually used for the rest of the set because my other guitar, which was Eddie in a previous episode that I used, I put new strings on both of them, and I remember Scott coming to me and saying my G string was out of tune. I can't remember if I was playing this one when that happened or the other guitar went out of tune, but one of them did, so I ended up using this for the rest of the set. And we played Loverboy, Skid Row, and I believe we played Wrathchild by Iron Maiden. Yeah, that's one reason I brought the Eddie guitar. And I've got the set list, but it's in my band scrapbook. It's at my mom's house. I could tell you if I had a picture of it. And it became my main stage guitar, largely not only because it's an amazing guitar, but because since the bridge is flush mounted, when you break a string, you're still in tune. On a floating bridge, the tension goes off the strings. It goes just by a little tiny bit. All the tension goes off the strings. You're completely screwed, completely out of tune. And I still have the same 412 cabinet and matching 5150 PV head that goes with this. All the ads said perfection squared, and they were absolutely correct. It is a match made in heaven. It is glorious. It is the golden tone. Every guitar I have sounds amazing through that rig, but this one was just made. They were made to go together. And it was also my main guitar in Switch Point, which was the next cover band I was in with Scott. And he had this guitar, his white one. I had this one. We both had 5150s. I also both had another guitar, different, same series, different models, that is going to be the subject of next month's guitar, but I won't give it away yet. Most of you probably know which one that is, especially if you know me or Scott, but I'll let you find out then. They're all really special. I do have a favorite, which we'll get to at one point, but they're all so damn good that I have to ask myself, why don't I play this more often? Because largely due to the amazing construction and everything of the instruments themselves and the amazing techs I've had over the last 20 years working on my stuff. And it was also actually, those two bands, my first band, Red 40 and Switch Point, I used it as my main guitar until I got the other guitar that we'll talk about next month. And then I just remembered that this was the first instrument I ever played on stage in LA, just down the sidewalk, literally not even 5 minutes away from where I live now, here in North Hollywood, at a place called Skinny's Lounge. And appropriately so, I played Ain't Talking About Love through my little PV Viper practice amp that I bought. And I believe I think I played a song called Personal Jesus, which I think was a Depeche Mode song. I actually have video of this on my old hard drive. Um, so appropriate that it was a Van Halen song that I played it on. R.I.P. Eddie, we miss you. Please, just you'll never die because your spirit can never ever be forgotten. Nobody ever really dies until they're forgotten about, so that could never happen. Which brings me to why I named this guitar Bill. So every guitar that I have, I name them after those who I've known personally who inspired me. And Bill Wagner, God rest his soul, he left us February 6, 2011. He owned Wagner's Music from 1976 until he passed. His wife Jan took it over, and then our friend and colleague Randy. I hate to say, I can't remember Randy's last name right now, but Randy's a good, really great guy. He took over the business when Jan retired, and I bought my first 5150 cabinet from Bill. This was the first guitar I ever bought from Bill, and I just really wanted it. I remember checking it out and trying it out, and remember him telling me how much he just loved these guitars. They sold a lot of them. Of course, they were a PV dealer. And Bill was a guy I can't say enough good things about. He was my guitar tech. He was my friend. He would always have a dirty joke to tell you when you would come into the store, or he would just want to talk about band stuff. And he hated Floyd Roses. Every time he'd work on one for me, and he had to learn how to work on them because he mentioned in the 80s, if you didn't, you lost a lot of business because they were the thing. He'd say, fucking Floyd Roses, because they pissed him off. And I couldn't blame him either, because they can be a real pain in the ass if you don't know what you're doing, even when you do, like when he did. But he'd never try to sell you anything. He would always talk to you. He was always glad to see you. I never saw him in a bad mood, maybe a little irritated sometimes. But I would just go over there and spend hours talking to him and friends who I knew who were in the shop. And I took lessons there for a few months from Matt before I took off to come to LA in 09. And it just, I have so many great memories of going in there. I ended up buying 6 total guitars from Bill. This was one of 6 that I had with me at GIT, Guitar Institute of Technology. And I had 2 other guitars that I bought from him also. And I still have those. And I have access to one other one. No, that's this one I sold. But, it was just, Bill, unfortunately, was not very old. He was 58, and he died 3 days before Gary Moore did. That was a rough week. So, I'm just, it still bugs me to know that he's gone, but he was one of those people that his wife said he had done everything on his bucket list. He did everything he wanted to do. I went to his gigs. I would always recommend people go there versus the place in Warsaw Paradise where I bought Eddie at, because they didn't know their ass from a hole in the ground when it came to repairs or anything, and they were good at ripping people off. So once they told me once that my guitar needed a new fret because of the buzzing, I took it to Bill. He did a neck adjustment, maybe charged me $5, and that was like, okay, I'm going to him from now on. But literally, it's just one of those. He's one of those people that will always be very dear to me, and I miss him a lot. And before I left town, when I moved back to Indiana in 2012, left again in 2014, but they had an exhibit in Plymouth, Indiana for Bill, and I made sure, and because his wife sent me a box with some stuff. I've got an Austin Healey shirt, I think, that he would wear on stage with his band Jan Wagner and the Left Hand Rockers, and I've still got that. No way I'm getting rid of that. But I put the shirt on, and took this guitar into the exhibit and got pictures with it. And I just cannot say enough about my dearly departed and very dearly missed friend, Bill, about why I named this guitar after him. It's entirely appropriate. And when I did my final at GIT for the Night of the Living Guitars at Catalina Jazz Club in Hollywood, I used this guitar. Of course, I had to. Wore a Wagner's t-shirt that Jan sent me. And since he and Gary died 3 days apart from each other, I played the melody for Parisian Walkways for my solo. I had to alter it by one note because the guy in my group wouldn't change this one chord, so it had to end up being an A Dorian riff versus a natural minor riff because it had an F sharp in it versus an F natural, like the actual song. But, you know, the statement was there, and I had to play for Bill and Gary. I had no other choice. There is no way I couldn't not have done that. And 20 years later, honestly, I have never recorded anything with it except for a couple of cover band demos. I also used it in my band Top Heavy before I left for LA in 2009 with Greg, and Dave was the bass player. Adam Guy, what's up, brother? You know, Adam was my drummer in Red 40, and I just sent Chad Moreland, the singer in Red 40, a track that he wanted me to do because he had an idea for original songs. So I'm like, well, I'm doing a video for the history of the Wolfgang this month anyway, so I'll just use it. So that was really cool, and I figured since I just sent it to him maybe an hour ago, today was the best day to do this video. It's just one of those things that it's got more sentimental than monetary value, and how could it not after all those memories? This was the first guitar I played at school in a performance. Also, I played Guns N' Roses song, Wasn't Out to Get Me. Yeah, actually, I think it was. I've got a video of that too. Pretty sure it was Out to Get Me off Appetite for Destruction. But, you know, that was an awesome, amazing day. And it's just a really, really special guitar. Of course, they all are, every one of them. But because of being the first guitar I bought from Bill and my relationship and friendship with him, on top of using it at GIT extensively, first guitar I played on stage in LA, and the first fairly expensive guitar I ever bought. It is just one of those things that I had to part with. It would absolutely devastate me. Of course, I've got emotional attachments to practically every one of these things by now. So it is just a very iconic guitar. And with that being said, let's go ahead and I'm just going to give you a short sound test with how it sounds and go from there. So this is the bridge pickup. Since Humans Being is my favorite Van Halen song, I'm just gonna do that song. That's the bridge pickup. So kick some distortion. Almost a little too bright sometimes because it is basswood with maple, so it tends to be brighter than some of my other guitars. This is one of Eddie and this one are the only two that I have that have a maple fretboard. That's the clean and the dirty sound on the bridge pickup, and then let's do a clean sound in the middle. Oops, turn that off. So I'm a little out of tune. This thing has old strings on it. All my guitars do. I almost never change them, so definitely got to get on that. I think the G string's been temperamental lately. That's the middle setting. This is the neck pickup. I will say that this neck pickup is one of the most glorious I have ever had in any guitar. It sings like there's no tomorrow. So since we did the bridge middle, and neck clean. I'm just going to play the most famous Gary Moore like there is on the neck pickup to give you an idea of how glorious it is. It just sings like nobody's business. And then you've also got the drop D tuner, which is just awesome. So just a heavy riff in D. So just a basic sound demonstration of this amazing, iconic, and very memorable and very, very special instrument. God bless you, Bill. God bless you, Eddie. God bless Gary Moore. And it's also one of only a couple of USA made guitars I have. This one in my Hamer Californian, which is made. Can't say that any guitar I have is special, because they all are. As anybody who owns guitars, even if they don't play or even just collect them, they know they're special in some way or another. And there's not any super major scratches on it. It only had about 3 on when I first got it. There's right here, you can't see it very well, but there's a chunk of wood that got popped on. I don't know how it happened, but I looked down, there was a chunk of exposed wood. You could actually see it underneath the paint and the clear coat. So I just colored it with a magic marker, and it's been fine ever since. And then right here, you can't see it very well, but it was on my neck strap, and it flipped forward at school, and I knocked into another student's guitar, so it chipped the clear coat a little bit. There's a little bit of a gash right there, and on the back there's a little bit, but it essentially looks pretty well brand new, which most of my guitars do. Even though I've played them all extensively, I baby them other than when I play them. So and the care and the reason why they're all as badass as they are, besides being amazing to start with, because I don't buy junk, is that the techs that I've had work on them, Bill, and then when I came out to LA, Joey, and then when I came back to LA, it was Nick, and then Matt and Moshe. Moshe hasn't worked on this one, but Matt and Nick both did. Matt Battaglia is the guy who worked on it last, and it's been a while, and from what I can tell, I don't think it needs his new strings, because it's being a little temperamental. So that is a history of the Wolfgang Bill, episode 3. Stay tuned next month, sometime in the 3rd or 4th week of the month, for the next one in line. And thanks for joining me on a trip down memory lane for another very special look at the history of my instruments, what they mean to me, and how vital they have been to my career and development as a musician. Rock on, up the irons. Till next time.